The glow of Karoline Leavitt's laptop lit up the dark study. Her face, sharp and calm, reflected on the screen. Outside her window, the trees swayed gently in the night breeze, making Ironwood Valley feel peaceful. Almost too peaceful. Then, her phone buzzed. Karoline didn't flinch. She turned the screen and tapped to unlock. It was an encrypted message from her FBI contact. Cartel strike inbound. 30 minutes. Be ready. Her fingers paused over the keyboard. Her eyes narrowed, slightly, but her voice stayed cold and steady as she picked up a secure radio line. They're coming, she said. 3 voices crackled back. We're in place, said Mark, a former Marine who now worked as her head of close combat defense. Security systems fully online, said Laya, the tech specialist hidden in the surveillance room below the east wing. Cell signals already scrambled, added James, a calm and quiet man who knew how to make communication vanish for miles. Karoline stood from her chair and walked swiftly down the hallway. Her heels clicked across the marble floor as she passed paintings, heavy doors, and thick reinforced walls. She stopped before an old oil painting, her grandfather's portrait. With a light push, the frame clicked. The wall slid open. Behind it was the control room. Rows of monitors flickered with night vision and infrared views of her entire estate. The long driveway, the fences, the trees, the private access road, hidden behind the orchard. Karoline scanned the screens. There, headlights off. 4 black SUVs crawling along the dirt road, slow and quiet. No license plates. Windows tinted black. She zoomed in. Armed men inside, faces hard, movements sharp. They're 10 minutes out, she said. Mark's voice came in. I'll take rooftop defense. We'll slow them down before they even reach the gate. Karoline replied, Don't shoot unless they breach the perimeter. Copy that. Down in the lower level, Laya typed furiously. Tripwires activated. Pressure pads armed. The estate, which looked like a modern mansion from the outside, was now a silent fortress ready for war. James walked into the control room holding a portable jammer. He nodded toward the screen. They've cut cell traffic in the entire sector, he said. They want no one to hear what's about to happen. Karoline nodded, her jaw tight. Then let's make sure they don't leave to tell anyone. As the SUVs stopped about a mile from the house, the doors opened. Men stepped out. 17 in total. Their boots crunched on the gravel road. At the front stood a tall man in a leather coat and dark sunglasses, despite the night. He held a walkie-talkie and didn't speak much, just gave hand signals. Felix Reyes. Karoline had seen his face only once, on a heavily classified briefing. Document during a White House security meeting. Former enforcer. Now a cartel commander. Ruthless. Brilliant. He once killed a federal agent in front of his own family. Slowly, Felix turned to his second in command. She's in there. Take her alive if you can. If not, burn it all. No evidence. No sound. No mercy. 3 teams split. One group headed toward the power box through the trees. The second crawled toward the mansion's front gate. The third crept low beside the garden walls, heading for the garage side where they assumed the defenses were weakest. They were wrong. Laya watched them from the control room, her fingers dancing over buttons. Motion sensors armed, infrared perimeter holding. I've activated the sound traps on the east wall, she said. Mark, on the roof, adjusted his scope. They're still moving like they own the place. Karoline turned to James. Take out their walkie range. Give me silence. James nodded. Done. On screen, the cartel soldiers began to slow down. One touched his earpiece. Nothing. Static. He looked up, confused. Then another man stopped. Looked around. Felix raised a clenched fist. His men froze. Karoline leaned closer to the monitor. Her voice was low, but clear. They thought I was just a press secretary. James smirked. They're about to learn something new. In her mind, Karoline remembered a day from 2 years ago. A similar night, a similar warning. But that time, her friend had died before the FBI arrived. She had promised herself it would never happen again. Outside, the wind shifted. The air grew colder. Felix looked toward the house. He pointed forward and gave the order. Go. The men ran. Inside the mansion, alarms stayed silent. But Karoline's hand moved to the control panel. With a single tap, the mansion locked down. Steel doors sealed, lights dimmed. Bulletproof glass slid into place. Mark whispered through the comms. They've crossed the outer perimeter. They're in. Karoline stared at the screen. Good, she said softly. Let them come. Her eyes met Felix's on the screen for a brief second. Just a tiny, zoomed-in feed from a hidden drone camera. He smiled, but she didn't, because he didn't know. She wasn't the one being hunted. She was setting the trap, and he had just walked into it. The first group of cartel men reached the eastern fence. One of them knelt and began cutting the metal wires, slow and silent. He held up his hand, signaling the others to wait. Just as the last wire snapped, the grass beneath him lit up, bright red from an invisible laser grid. He froze. Too late. A high-pitched beep sounded. Then a metal spike launched from the ground, striking his leg with stunning force. He screamed and collapsed. From the rooftop, Mark had his eye on the group through night vision binoculars. He raised his radio. Contact made. Perimeter trap successful. 1 man down. Inside the control room, Karoline didn't smile. Her face was cold, calculating. Don't let them retreat, she said. Leia, watching her computer monitors, nodded. Triggering blackout now. She hit a key. Every light within 2 square miles, street lamps, nearby homes, even the cartel's own SUVs, went out. Total darkness swallowed Ironwood Valley. Only Karoline's mansion remained faintly lit. A deliberate choice. A signal. Let them come. The second cartel team advanced toward the front gate. One of them tried to climb the steel bars, just as a sudden burst of high-frequency noise blasted from a hidden speaker. The man screamed, covering his ears, and fell backward. The others pulled him behind a tree, confused and shaken. They're not used to tech warfare, Leia whispered. Karoline stood still, watching every movement on the screens. Then she saw him. Felix Reyes, calm, confident. He walked across the open grass like he was walking through his own home. No rush, no fear, just precision. He carried no gun, just a small device in his hand. Karoline's eyes narrowed. Zoom in. James tapped the keys. The image sharpened. A portable jammer, he said. But not just signals. That model can fry thermal grids. Which means, Karoline whispered, he's trying to blind us. On screen, a second later, 3 of their infrared cameras went dark. He's learning, Leia muttered. Karoline spoke into her mic. Mark, eyes on Felix. Keep him alive. He's the only one who knows who's pulling strings from Washington. Mark confirmed. Got it. I won't take the shot unless you say so. In the west wing, under the garage floor, James heard a faint noise. A soft thump, then another. He pressed his ear to the wall. They're digging, he said quietly. Karoline turned to him. They're under us. They planned a breach from below. Probably timed it to hit when we're distracted up top. Karoline walked over to a side locker and pulled out a sidearm. It was light but heavy enough to kill. She checked the bullets. Then it's time to go down, she said. James hesitated. Are you sure? Karoline looked at him. If they reach the vault, everything falls. She tapped her wrist. Mark, Leia, I'm heading underground. Keep eyes up top. Lock the server doors if they cross Zone C. Copy, Leia said. Be safe. Karoline moved fast. She passed the wine cellar, then the hidden vault hallway. As she turned the final corner toward the sub-basement, she slowed. Voices. Spanish. 5 or 6 men. Laughing. They were inside. She knelt by the control panel. Her fingers tapped a hidden switch. The hallway lights flickered, then changed to red. She stepped forward. Quiet. Focused. Around the corner, 5 cartel men were prying open a steel door. Behind that door, Karoline's private vault. And inside that vault, documents, drives, and one specific encrypted folder labeled only Royce. Senator William Royce. The man Karoline had once trusted. The man she had later discovered was being paid to delay anti-cartel bills. They were after that file. Karoline raised her gun, but before she fired, one of the men turned. He saw her. Ali! The hallway erupted with bullets. Karoline ducked behind a pillar. She returned fire, short, fast bursts. She hit one in the shoulder. Another went down screaming. She ran across the hallway, sliding behind a steel counter. Her sidearm was almost empty. From above, James's voice crackled in her ear. They've breached Zone B. Do you copy? Still in play, she replied. She pressed another switch. Suddenly, gas hissed from vents along the ceiling. The remaining cartel men panicked. They pulled up cloths and masks, but it wasn't poison. It was a thick smoke, covering Karoline's escape. She rolled forward, fired 2 more shots, and slammed the vault shut. Inside, alarms blared. The server files were now locked behind 2 feet of solid titanium. The last man lunged at her. She ducked, twisted, and slammed her elbow into his jaw. He dropped, out cold. Karoline stood in the smoke, breathing heavily. Her earpiece buzzed. Karoline moved fast through the underground corridor, boots echoing on concrete. The gas had settled, and the vault was secure, but the words still rang in her ear. 5 more vehicles. Black. No ID, not cartel. She knew what that meant. Not rogue cartel members. Not cops. Mercenaries. She reached the elevator, wiped sweat from her brow, and pressed the command button. As the doors slid shut, her mind ran through the list of possibilities. The cartel attack had been a cover, a distraction. Someone powerful wanted something buried deeper than the vault files. Her watch vibrated. A message flashed from Mark. Front gate breached. They're inside. Karoline's jaw tightened. She pulled out her earpiece mic. Everyone regroup at fallback zone Alpha. Leia, kill outside feeds. James, scramble internal sensors. No more signals in or out unless it's from us. Leia's voice crackled, tense but focused. Already, on it. Upstairs, in the mansion's great hall, the scene had changed fast. 2 cartel men still crawled near the eastern wing, injured and disoriented. Mark stood above them, rifle drawn, expression hard. He'd offered one of them a way out, speak or bleed. They bled. He turned as he heard the front door blow open. Smoke filled the hall. Shadows moved in fast formation. Clean, practiced, military style. Not cartel. Not local. Mercenaries. They were dressed in matte black body armor, faces covered, eyes hidden behind tactical visors. Mark took cover behind the marble pillar. He radioed in. We've got a new party. Military grade, no insignia, not speaking. Spanish. Karoline's voice responded quickly. Don't engage unless fired on. Fall back if needed. These aren't street soldiers. They're trained. Leia, meanwhile, worked furiously in the control room. Her hands flew over the keyboard, eyes scanning heat maps and sound sensors. They're jamming our network. I'm rerouting control to local backup. But, Karoline, one of them is carrying a fingerprint key. They know your layout. This wasn't random. Karoline cursed under her breath. someone inside the government, had betrayed her. It wasn't just about the cartel anymore. This was personal. This was political. James appeared at the stairwell, carrying a mobile EMP generator. "We can take out their gear for 6 minutes, max. That's all I've got before. Backup circuits fail." Karoline nodded. 6 minutes is enough. She reached under the bookshelf and pulled out a hidden case. Inside, a compact pulse rifle and 2 vials of nanodust, experimental tech designed to confuse thermal scanners. She handed one to James. "Spray this down your back and legs. Move like a ghost." He grinned. Always wanted to be invisible. Karoline turned to Leia. "If they make it to the control center, fry everything. Even the Royce file. No one gets it." Leia hesitated. "Even you?" Karoline nodded slowly. "Even me." Footsteps echoed on the marble. Shouts. Gunfire cracked across the front hallway. Mark radioed in again, breathing heavy. "They're splitting up. 2 to the east wing, 3 to the server room. They're not here to kill." Karoline replied, "Then what are they after?" A voice interrupted the feed. Crisp, American, cold. "Karoline Leavitt, we're not here for blood. Open the doors. No more games." It wasn't Cartel. It was a U.S. accent, but not military. Private sector. Karoline recognized the voice. She'd heard it once before, at a Senate subcommittee briefing 2 years ago. Calhoun. Philip Calhoun. Ex-intelligence. Now running a billion-dollar private security firm, funded by arms lobbyists and known for cleaning up the mess others couldn't. And now he was inside her home. Her breath caught. "Patch me through. Voice only." James clicked the channel. "This is Karoline Leavitt," she said calmly. Calhoun's voice responded instantly. "Miss Leavitt, you've made a mess. That Royce file? It connects more people than you understand. Senators, CEOs, even diplomats." Karoline's hand trembled slightly. He continued. "You were warned. Publicly and privately. You pushed. You passed anti-cartel sanctions. You embarrassed the wrong people." Karoline's tone stayed firm. "I swore to protect the truth." "You swore to kill it." A pause. Then Calhoun's voice lowered. "Give me the file and we walk away. Refuse and Ironwood becomes your grave." Karoline glanced at James, then at Leia. "No deal," she whispered. Calhoun chuckled coldly. "Suit yourself." At that moment, a loud crash shook the east wing. Shards of glass rained down. Sirens blared. They were coming fast. Karoline gave the order. "Initiate blackout protocol. James, EMP now." The house went dark. Screens died. Lights flickered. Out. For 6 minutes, Ironwood Valley vanished from the grid. No heat. No signals. No escape. But Karoline wasn't running. She was just getting started. And the storm that was coming would change Washington forever. The lights were out. The mansion was now completely dark. Power gone. Cameras off. Outside communication cut. Karoline moved silently through the hallway, holding her pulse rifle tight against her chest. Only the red emergency light on her watch blinked softly. She could hear nothing but the echo of her own footsteps and the thud of boots in the distance. 6 minutes. That's all they had. James's EMP had bought them time, but not much. "Status," she whispered into her comm. "Hallway secure," Mark replied, his breath fast. 2 hostiles down. The others retreated once the EMP hit. "I'm moving toward the server vault," Leia added. "I need 5 minutes to wipe Royce." Karoline nodded, even though no one could see her. The Royce file was the real target. It wasn't just a collection of names and transactions. It was a digital bomb. It linked high-level cartel operations to U.S. senators, foreign diplomats, and even private military firms. Karoline had found it during a classified intelligence briefing 6 months earlier, buried deep under layers of encryption. Only 3 people in the world had access. One of them was her. And now mercenaries were inside her home, willing to kill to erase it. She passed a cracked mirror in the hallway. In the faint reflection, she could see her own face. Sweat on. Her brow, eyes sharp, jaw clenched. She didn't look like a press secretary anymore. She looked like a soldier. Then came the noise. A soft metal click, footsteps behind her. She spun around. Too late. A figure lunged from the shadows, tall, fast, masked. She fired. The pulse shot hit the wall as the man tackled her to the ground. They struggled. Her rifle slid away across the floor. He pulled. A knife. But she grabbed his wrist, twisted, kicked hard. He stumbled back. She grabbed a steel lamp from a side table and slammed it against his head. He dropped instantly. Karoline stood, panting, heart pounding. The EMP would wear off in less than 3 minutes. She grabbed her rifle, stepped over the body, and moved forward. Meanwhile, in the basement vault, Leia sat in front of the glowing terminal. Her fingers moved quickly, entering the final deletion codes. "One more layer," she muttered. "Almost there." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed through the vault door. Then, another. "Leia." Karoline's voice buzzed in her ear. "What's that?" "They've found me." From outside, someone shouted, "We know you're in there. Open the vault and we walk away." Leia ignored them. 30 seconds, she said, typing faster. Outside the vault, Calhoun stood with 3 men, expression cold. "They think they're heroes," he said calmly. "Delete that file, and she becomes a target forever. We leak her name, her location, her history." One of the men raised a small device. "I can break it," he said. "But it'll take a charge." "Do it," Calhoun ordered. Inside, Leia finished the final line of code. The screen blinked once, then black. The Royce file was gone. "Done," she whispered. Then the wall exploded. Concrete cracked. Smoke filled the vault. Leia hit the floor, covering her head. Karoline heard the explosion over the comm. "Leia, report." No answer. She ran faster, heart in her throat. At the same time, Mark was at the south entrance. He crouched behind a wooden table, eyes on the back gate. Another team was entering. 5 men this time, all armed. James joined him, holding the last charge detonator. "If they cross the line, we light them up." "Wait for my signal," Mark said. The mercenaries came closer. Then Karoline's voice came over the line. "Mark, Leia's down. I need cover. Head to the vault now." Mark looked at James. "Hit it." James pressed the button. A flash lit up the yard. The explosion knocked 2 mercenaries off their feet. The rest scattered. It wasn't enough to stop them, but it was enough to stall them. Inside, Karoline reached the ruined vault door. Smoke billowed. Sparks fell from the ceiling. She stepped inside slowly. Leia was against the wall, blood on her forehead, eyes open. "You okay?" Karoline asked. "I'm fine," she said weakly. "But they know. They know the file's gone." Karoline helped her up. "We hold them here," she said. "This is where it ends." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the control room. A ringtone, old, familiar. Leia looked at her tablet. "It's coming from the encrypted line." Karoline's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." A voice filled the room, male, calm, powerful. "Karoline, this is Ambassador Velez, the Mexican ambassador. I'm calling from a secure line. This is not a warning. This is a plea." Karoline froze. "What do you want?" she asked coldly. "There are things you don't understand," Velez said. "If you release that file, there will be war. Not just between nations, but between governments and their own people." "The file is gone," Karoline replied. Silence. Smoke still hung in the air as Karoline and Leia stepped out of the ruined vault. The hallway lights flickered back to life. The EMP had worn off. Every system in the mansion was rebooting. Surveillance cameras, communication lines, motion sensors. But Karoline knew it didn't matter now. The enemy was already inside. They had minutes, maybe less. She tapped her earpiece. "Mark? Status?" "We've lost the West Corridor," he replied. 3 left. I've injured 2, but Calhoun's still standing. Caroline's heart clenched at the name. Calhoun wasn't just a mercenary. He was ex-CIA. A specialist in black ops, once decorated, until he disappeared 5 years ago. Now he worked for the highest bidder. And tonight, that bidder was the Cartel. "They're heading your way," Mark warned. "Be ready." Karoline looked at Leia. "Can you walk?" Leia nodded, though her face was pale. "Where do we go?" "To the war room." Together they moved through the corridor, stepping over broken tiles and burnt metal. As they reached the library, Karoline paused. Behind a bookshelf, she pressed a button. A secret door slid open, revealing a hidden staircase. They descended quickly into the underground chamber. The war room was unlike anything in a normal home. Built with government funding and personal investment, it had reinforced concrete walls, a private server stack, bulletproof supply lockers, and a communication system linked directly to military satellites. James and Mark were already there, bruised and breathing hard. "They're splitting up," James reported. "One team is circling back. We estimate 4 remaining." Karoline stepped up to the central console and placed her hand on the scanner. The screens came alive, displaying heat maps, drone feeds, and a satellite view of the estate. "Leia?" she asked. "I'm okay. Just get me to a terminal." Leia sat down at the keyboard and immediately started tapping. "I can't recover the Royce file. It's gone. But I can pull the server logs. That call from Ambassador Velez? It was rerouted. Through Belize." Karoline's face hardened. "Then he's not bluffing. This isn't just cartel revenge. Someone inside the system gave them this operation. Inside the U.S. system," Mark added grimly. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the main screen. "Motion detected. North wall breach." James swore. "They found the tunnel entrance. They're coming here." Karoline's eyes scanned the options. "We can't hold them off down here. We need leverage." Mark looked up. "The drone." Karoline nodded. "Launch it." Leia opened the panel beside the screen. Inside was a small black drone, no bigger than a bird. She activated it, and within seconds, the drone shot up through a vertical shaft that led to the rooftop. From the war room screen, they watched the drone's feed. It circled above the estate, capturing infrared images of movement. Several heat signatures were approaching from the north. Then it zoomed in on something unexpected. A black vehicle, unmarked, parked on the ridge outside the mansion grounds. A man stood beside it, watching. Karoline leaned in. "Can you zoom in?" Leia adjusted the controls. The image sharpened. The man wore a suit and an earpiece. "Not cartel, government," Karoline whispered. "Who the hell is that?" Before anyone could answer, the lights flickered again. The emergency line lit up. "Incoming transmission. Level 7 clearance required." Karoline authorized it. A face appeared on the screen, blurred and voice distorted. "You weren't supposed to survive tonight," the voice said coldly. "You deleted the file. That gives us a problem." Karoline didn't flinch. "Who are you?" "You know who I am," the voice replied. "We're the ones who kept the country running while people like you gave speeches." Leia stepped closer. "You sent the cartel. You gave them access." "No," the voice said. "We let them think they had it. The real threat isn't outside your house. It's already inside Washington." The screen went black. Then gunfire echoed above. "They're breaching the upper hall," James shouted. "They're here." Karoline moved quickly. "We hold them, long enough for one of us to get out." Mark stared at her. "You're not going anywhere. Someone has to deliver. This," Karoline said. "Not the Royce file. The truth about tonight. The voice. The betrayal." "I'll take it," Leia said. "No," Karoline said softly. "You've done enough." She grabbed the encrypted flash drive from the console, sealed it in a secure bag, and turned to the emergency hatch that led into the mountain. "I need 10 minutes, she told them. Mark loaded his weapon. "We'll give you 15. As Karoline disappeared into the tunnel, the war room lights dimmed again. Upstairs, the final assault had begun, and below, in the depths of the mansion, the battle for truth was only getting louder. The emergency tunnel was dark and cold, carved into the Virginia hillside like a secret artery. Karoline moved fast, the secure drive strapped tightly under her coat. Every breath she took echoed against the stone. Her footsteps pounded through the silence, but her mind wasn't calm. Upstairs, her team was still fighting. Mark, James, Leia, risking everything so she could escape with the truth. Not just about the cartel, but something deeper. A betrayal from inside the U.S. government. A shadow network willing to unleash foreign killers on American soil just to keep a secret. Buried, Karoline's hands trembled, but she pressed on. She reached the end of the tunnel. It opened into an old ranger's shack hidden in the woods. The building had been abandoned for years, but Karoline had outfitted it with just enough tech to make contact with the outside world, if only once. She pulled off her coat, plugged in the encrypted drive, and activated the emergency uplink. The screen blinked, then connected to a private server registered under a false name, one known only to a few former intelligence allies. She uploaded the video from the mansion's drone. The footage showed the unmarked government vehicle on the ridge, the man in the suit, and the distorted voice warning her she wasn't meant to survive. Karoline typed fast. Subject: internal threat confirmed. White House must act immediately. Recipient: General Calvin Rourke. Retired encryption, Omega Black Tier. She hit send. Then the screen went black. Back at the mansion, chaos exploded. Mark fired the last round from his rifle. A masked cartel soldier dropped to the ground, but 2 more came through the blown-out hallway. Smoke filled the corridor. James yelled something, but it was lost in the noise. Then Leia screamed. A man in a suit, tall, clean-shaven, with a black pistol, stepped into the war room. Calhoun. He wasn't Cartel. He never had been. He was something worse. An American agent gone rogue, working for the shadow government that had manipulated the cartel into attacking Karoline. "You should have left the file alone," he said, pointing the gun at Leia. Mark lunged at him from behind. A shot rang out. Silence. Calhoun fell to one knee, clutching his bleeding shoulder. James had fired, from across the room, saving Mark by a second. "Leia!" James shouted, pulling her to cover. "Go, get out while we still can." She shook her head. Not without Karoline. But deep down, they all knew. Karoline was already gone. And she was their only chance to expose the truth. Miles away, Karoline moved through the woods, breath misting in the night air. Her goal: reach the private helipad near the highway. A contact would be waiting. But as she stepped onto the gravel path, headlights blinded her. An SUV rolled forward, tires crunching. Not the cartel. Worse. The man from the drone footage stepped out. Now Karoline could see his face. Gray hair, sharp eyes, polished shoes. Someone who belonged behind a desk at Langley or Capitol Hill, not in the middle of a forest at midnight. He smiled. "You're tougher than I thought." Karoline didn't move. "You tried to kill me." "No," he said calmly. "I tried to stop the truth from spreading. There's a difference. You sent the cartel." I gave them an opportunity. They took it, the same way you took the president's attention. You're smart, Karoline, but you were never supposed to be this loud. She held the drive tight in her pocket. It's too late. The evidence is already out. He raised a hand. Maybe, but it won't matter. People don't believe files anymore. They believe the headlines, and I own them. A helicopter roared, overhead, closer now. He looked up, annoyed. You called for backup? Karoline smirked. No, I called someone who still believes in the Constitution. Suddenly, floodlights lit up the trees. Men in tactical gear poured out from the tree line. Not Cartel, not private agents, U.S. Marshals. One of them barked into a radio. Target located. Suspect detained. Leavitt is secure. The man in the suit didn't resist. He knew it was over. Karoline exhaled for the first time in hours. As the marshals took the man into custody, one of them handed her a phone. Call from General Rourke, the officer said. She answered. Karoline. The old general's voice came through, clear and strong. We got your message. We've seen the footage. I'm briefing the president in the morning. You did well. Karoline looked at the blood on her hands and dirt on her clothes. No, General, she said quietly. We did what had to be done. The officer nodded. We'll take you to a safe house. But Karoline turned to face the mansion far, in the distance, still smoking in the dark hills. No, she said. Take me to Washington. Because the war wasn't over, and the truth was only beginning to surface. Washington, D.C. was a storm waiting to break. By dawn, every major newsroom buzzed with confusion. The press had caught wind of the attack on Karoline Leavitt's mansion, but details were thin. Some thought it was a robbery gone wrong. Others whispered about foreign involvement. No one knew the truth, yet. Inside a secure White House briefing room, Karoline stood across from President Daniel Whitmore. His face was tight with concern, but his voice remained calm. You were nearly assassinated, he said. And you still chose to come here? Karoline nodded. I have evidence. I know who orchestrated the attack, and I know why. Behind her, General Rourke placed a classified file on the table. Mr. President, what we're dealing with isn't just cartel retaliation. It's deeper. We've uncovered a rogue element, people embedded inside federal intelligence, working with foreign networks. Karoline was targeted because she got too close. The president's eyes narrowed. Why didn't anyone in my inner circle warn? Me? Karoline stepped forward. Because someone in your circle is part of it. Silence. The weight of her words dropped like thunder in the room. The president looked at her, then at the general. Can you prove it? Karoline pulled out the flash drive. This contains audio recordings, encrypted documents, and satellite images. Everything from surveillance leaks to cartel communications tied to Felix Reyes and U.S. operatives, including one senior advisor in this building. The general turned to a tech officer. Play the final file. A video appeared on the screen. It showed a dimly lit hangar. In the frame stood Felix Reyes, the cartel leader, shaking hands with a familiar figure, Charles Dunning, the president's chief security advisor. Gasps echoed in the room. Play the audio, Karoline said. Charles Dunning's voice came through clear. The press secretary is too bold. She's not afraid to dig. Let the cartel do what we can't. The president's face went white. That man advised me on security. He sat in every intelligence meeting for 3 years. General Rourke stepped forward. Sir, we have enough evidence to arrest him, but this goes far beyond him. There are others, in the media, in tech, even foreign diplomats who helped cover this up. President Whitmore straightened. Then we exposed them all. No press conference, no spin, just facts. We cleaned this government from the inside out. Karoline didn't speak. She was exhausted, bruised. and still smelling faintly of smoke. But in that moment, her eyes said everything. This was bigger than her. Later that night, in a quiet studio tucked into the heart of D.C., Karoline sat across from veteran journalist Dana Mercer for a live one-on-one interview. It was the first time she was speaking since the attack. "Karoline," Dana began, "you nearly died. You've lost colleagues. Why risk it all for this?" Karoline looked into the camera. "Because people deserve the truth. Because corruption hides behind flags and titles. And because silence protects the powerful. I didn't survive to stay quiet." The interview went viral within an hour. News anchors across the globe quoted her. Hashtags trended. Protesters gathered outside Capitol Hill, demanding answers. Supporters called her a hero. Detractors called her a traitor. But no one could ignore her now. Back at the mansion, teams worked around the clock to rebuild. FBI agents still combed through the property. Drone footage from the night of the attack had been declassified, proving once and for all it wasn't a random assault. It was a coordinated political hit. Leah, arm in a sling, monitored news feeds from her laptop. James adjusted the security, sensors with a limp in his leg. Mark stood by the newly reinforced gate, watching the road like a hawk. Karoline returned quietly. No press, no speeches. She walked into the study where it had all begun. The smell of burned paper still lingered. But the bookshelves were back. The lights were on. And Brano, her scarred German shepherd, sat by the fireplace, tail wagging gently. She sat beside him, brushing his fur. "You saved me," she whispered. "Now we save others." Brano rested, his head on her lap. That night, Karoline opened a new file on her laptop. Its title, Operation Quiet Chain, Exposing the Hidden Network. She would not return to her old press briefings. She was done playing by the old rules. Instead, she would launch her own independent task force. Outside government, inside truth. Led by survivors. Protected by the people. Fueled by what the cartel and the traitors never understood. She wasn't just a voice for the White House. She was the voice they couldn't silence. And now, the silence was broken.